those of you who are just tuning in, I have in the studio with me Ms. Curtrina Pharr. She is now a published author after losing her father at the age of 3, losing her mother at the age of 9, and being homeless in 8th, 9th grade, about the age of 15. Yep. And she's thus far shared her story of mom using a lot of drugs and alcohol, abusive family system, father in and out. The only father figure that she had really was her biological father, who, again, like I said, died when she was 3 years old. And just witnessing drugs, sex, and alcohol pretty much as early as long as you can remember.
Yeah, as long as I can remember.
Wow. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about just the example that set for you, because you said you just emulated what you knew. It was the norm in your family.
And it was very normal. After like the deaths of my mom and my father, and we got with a family member, and she, let us live there and kicked us out after she got the benefits from the government. When I first went down to the jungle, I felt at home. I didn't feel any different than being, in the most violent places, because I'm pretty sure I've been in the most violent places in Charlotte anyway. Yeah. I can't speak for outside of Charlotte, but I know that it was pretty comfortable for me. I didn't feel afraid at all.
And the jungle is the nickname that you used for the neighborhood or the area of the park that you stayed in, and that's where everybody was drinking and drugging. It was very normal in your neighborhood and in your upbringing to just everybody starts drinking. When did you start using drugs and alcohol?
I would say I remember I smoked a black and mallet at like 9, and I smoked marijuana at 12. By the time I was 13 or 14, I was snorting cocaine and popping ecstasy.
Wow. I know you wanted to share an excerpt about just the example that you saw of women in your family system, because, again, there was an absence of positive male figures.
Yes. This is one of my, like she said, role models, my Aunt Doran, and that's the name of the chapter also. So I'm going to go ahead and read a paragraph for you. Aunt Doran was my mama's sister. She was known for cutting people with knives or glass bottles. One day, she and Mama were sitting at the kitchen table. Mama said, "Girl, I can't figure out how to feed these chaps." Then Aunt Doran said, "What you mean you can't feed these chaps?" Aunt Doran opened the refrigerator. It was empty. Nothing. Zero. Aunt Doran said, "We gotta feed them." They went upstairs and got some guns. Mama told Wookie to watch the kids while they were gone. Mama and Aunt Doran went to the neighborhood store. When they came home, they had bologna, bread, and cheese. We had bologna sandwiches with cheese for supper.
Did you have any idea in your recollection of what your mother and your aunt were doing?
No, I didn't. But I knew my mama had a lot of guns, because we used to go in and peep at them and try not to get caught, because it was a closet full of them. But no, I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know what robbery meant at that age.
And you started, because I asked you, how do you go from being exposed to all of that to becoming an author? So you told me you started writing very early on.
Yeah, as soon as I learned how to write in school, in elementary school, I began writing on my own, writing down my thoughts, writing down my feelings, writing down what I saw, everything. But the people around me, my family members that was around me, was too intoxicated and just didn't care what I was writing, as long as I wasn't bothering them. So I've been creatively writing around since I was maybe 7 or 8 years old.
And you told me you used to write songs and raps and poems, all sorts of things.
Everything, and perform. I would actually sit and perform my poetry to my best friend Diamond. And she would, when we got older, she ended up sending some of my poetry to some inmates. But it was, I guess it was just that good to her. But it was, to me, very entertaining. But I was so shy about it because I had to live this thug life, and it was not okay to be smart. It was not okay for me to know and to write and to be a writer. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't realize that writing could be a career.
Right.
No one explained that to me. They didn't care to explain it to me.
So you had an outlet, a gift of writing, and you didn't even know it.
I didn't know it.
You had this gift and didn't even know it.
No,
it was just something
my friends,
that you did
I'm
on the side.
I'm going to be a hairstylist. I got other friends say I'm going to be a lawyer. I got another friend that say going to be a mortician or something like that.
What did you think you were going to be?
I had no idea. I didn't know what I could be. I knew I could do hair, but I didn't like doing hair. I mean, it was a lot of things I could do. I was good at gymnastics, But I didn't know much about that either, so I was just kept writing.
You just kept writing on the side, but in the meantime, just emulating what you saw, drugs and sex and alcohol, dropped out of school, education was just on the back burner.
Yeah, I couldn't go to school because it wasn't paying any money.
Right.
It couldn't give me anywhere to live. It couldn't give me any food in my stomach. I mean, it couldn't do anything for me at the time. I had to be an adult at a very young age, and school, of course, is the right way to go. But at that point, it wasn't a choice for me.
Wow. And you bring up a really interesting point because you said it wasn't okay to be smart. It wasn't okay to, to write poetry and be, educated in that sense. Did you find that, because you and I talked for a long time, just, before recording today, but did you find that the mentality of your neighborhood kept you from, is like hitting your head on a glass ceiling, kept you from growing?
Yeah, because
Can
I
you
didn't
talk
know
about
any
that
better.
process
I didn't
a little
know
bit?
Anything. I just knew that, I knew that I was writing. I knew that I kept hearing, random people that at the teen club and places like that, education, you need to get your education. And Diamond's mother, you need to get your education. But I was too young to get a job, and then the person who was my guardian at the time didn't tell me about workers permits and things like that. So the first thing I do was I do what I saw Aunt Doran do. She went and prostituted herself to get what she needed, so I did those things. I mean, I did everything to eat. I went into grocery stores and would eat while I'm in the store with my sisters and brothers, and then steal food to bring back to my sisters and brothers.
Right.
We did all those things together. That was just survival mode for us. You know, and it was just, I don't know, when you get in survival mode and you don't have anything, you never really know what you're going to do.
Did you anticipate that would be your life for the rest of your life?
I didn't. No, not at all. I knew I wanted to change.
Okay.
Just like it says in the book, I knew I wanted to be different ever since I was little. I just didn't see how I fit into my family.
Right.
Because my thoughts were, I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be, go around happy people. I didn't really have big dreams. I just wanted a normal life.
Yeah.
So I didn't have all these dreams about, going to school, going to college, and, creating a family, getting a house and all this stuff. All I wanted to do was not be raped and be hungry. Those were my biggest fears. So with that being said, I was just happy with that.
Wow.
And nobody else told me any different. You could go further than that. Nobody ever said those words to me. Never. Not one person in my family cared enough to tell me that, you are bright. You could do this or you could do that. No, they wanted to keep me face down to where I wouldn't know anything, so I could rely on them to ask questions so they could tell me the wrong information.
Wow. We talked a lot about, different family members that, took advantage of you, basically, took advantage of you as a minor child, took your, took the checks that you would get on a monthly basis and kind of left you on your own to do what you do.
And my sister, Shavante, she was a big role model to me, too. She kept me on my toes. She was a lot more mature than she was supposed to be, So with her, I watched her a lot. I wanted to be like her. She was selling drugs, but she would also come and correct the things that I saw. Like the parents, they'll do things in front of me, but they wouldn't come back and say, well, I know you seen me do this, so you don't do this, you do this.
Yeah.
But my sister did.
I noticed that in your book. You talked about a lot of the female figures in your family. I mean, it just became, this is what you do. And there wasn't a corrective measure. There wasn't a, this is what we're doing now, but there's better than this.
Yeah.
It was always just a kind of a mentality. And we also talked about the fact that this is your story. This is the story of your life told from your perspective about multiple family members. I mean, each chapter kind of details a different family member's, kind of in your interaction with them. So you said that some of your family members don't feel like this is an accurate portrayal.
Yeah. They don't agree with it at all. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But they don't agree with it at all. They asked me questions about it since it was a journal before it was even thought about being a book, because I didn't ever, think that I would create it as a book. Even when Miss Catherine suggested that I make Confessions into a book, I was still just writing and had no idea what I was doing at 24 years old.
Yeah.
And then it took for her to tell me that, okay, this sounds a lot like a movie. You should make this into a book. And so with that being said, I knew from then that, I should do something with my life. I need for Wayne to look at me and say, my mommy is, a writer. My mommy's a I'm sorry. My mommy is a writer. She went to college,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's okay. It's a very emotional story. As I told you, when I read it, it reminded me a lot of Grace After Midnight, which is Felicia Snoop Pearson's personal story. Felicia Pearson was the kind of hardcore character in The Wire, HBO's The Wire. And so it reminds me a lot of what I said is, Curtrina's story could easily be, Curtrina's story here in Charlotte could easily be some young girl in Detroit or some young girl in Baltimore or some young girl in D.C. or some young girl in Philly. This is the story of young urban America, underinsured, underserved, vulnerable, and exposed to drugs, alcohol, molestation, rape, just far too early, from day one almost, and then didn't know how to get out of that. So talk to me let's talk about that transition, about how you got out of it. Of course, we don't want to give away too much from the book. And again, the book is called Confessions of an Abandoned Child. You can find it